Good morning, Eagles. Yes, we are in my bedroom today. I am packing, I am moving. We are in week 2, pack it, close reading, day 1. So week 2, close reading, day 1. We are still talking about revolutionary women, women who fought for independence. For our first read, we are not annotating, but we are paying attention to who is this text mostly about and what is going on. We are finding the main idea today. What is mostly going on so that we can better understand the entire text and how it applies to the unit. Put your finger or your eraser on the first word, serving. I am going to read aloud. Follow along. Ready? Serving the cause. Women were not allowed to serve in George Washington's Continental Army, but evidence shows that at least 4 women become part of the fighting force. Boys as young as 14 joined the army, so a woman could wear loose clothing and pretend she was a boy. One woman from Maine joined up with her brother in 1775. She served until the war ended in 1781. In 1776, an unidentified Cherokee woman was found dead on a battlefield. She wore face paint like male Cherokee warriors did, and she had a bow and arrows. Sally St. Clair. Sally St. Clair was part French and part African American. Some say she joined the army in disguise to be near her boyfriend. Her identity was not discovered until she died at the British siege of Savannah, Georgia in 1779. In the summer of 1781. In the summer of 1781, the commander of the Continental Army in South Carolina was camped near the home of 16-year-old Emily Geiger. He needed more troops, but the nearest ones were far away. The countryside was full of loyalists. Emily volunteered to carry a message, knowing that a girl wouldn't draw as much attention as a man. But, just to be safe, she memorized the message before she hid it in her clothing. Smart. Sure enough, British soldiers stopped her. When they went to get a woman to search Emily, she ripped up the message and swallowed the pieces. The British soon let her go, and she delivered the message aloud. So far, who is the text talking about? The texts are talking about women. So far, we have heard about Sally St. Clair, Emily Geiger. So that's who. What is going on? Both women are participating in the fight in the American Revolution, one way or another. So let's keep reading. And as we keep reading, we're going to ask ourselves again, who is this text talking about and what is going on? I see that some words are bolded. That lets me know that each section has subtitles. Remember we talked about the prefix sub means below. So the entire title is the cause and the subsections are bolded. So I can easily identify. So now I know I'm getting ready to read about Deborah Sampson. I already know my who is Deborah Sampson. So let's see what is going on with Deborah Sampson. Deborah Sampson was a Massachusetts farmer worker who loved adventure. In 1782, after the last battle of the war, but while there was still some fighting, she joined the Continental Army as Robert Shirtliff. She served for 1.5 years. According to one story, she was hit by a musket ball. She cut the ball out of her own leg to avoid being looked at by a doctor. Later, a doctor discovered her secret while treating her for a fever. Sampson was given an honorable discharge in October 1783. Wow, she was strong. Militias were local fighting units. They operated in backwoods areas away from large settlements. Women who lived in these places were used to firing weapons to defend against Indian attacks. Some put these skills to use against the enemy. Nancy Morgan, Hart of Wilkes County, Georgia, took on 5 loyalists who attacked her home while her husband was away. She shot 2 and captured them all. Another brave patriot messenger was also a teenage girl. Sybil Ludington, 16, was the daughter of a New York militia commander. In 1777, he asked her to get on a horse and call out his militiamen. They were needed to defend a British attack near Danbury, Connecticut. On a rainy night, Sybil rode her horse about 40 miles to remote farmhouses to alert her father's men. And if we look at the text features, the pictures, we can see her riding on a horse. Anne Bailey's military career did not go as well as Deborah Sampson's. In 1777, Bailey enlisted in the Army as Samuel Gay. Within 3 weeks, she was promoted to corporal, but soon her disguise was discovered and she ran away. A few months later, Bailey was captured and tried in court. She was fined, sentenced to 2 months in jail, and discharged from the Army. I wonder why her mission was different than Deborah's. Aiding the cause. So I know that aiding means to help, like first aid. When I hurt myself, we get the first aid kit. So I know that aiding means to help. I know that this section is going to be talking about helping or aiding the cause. And what is the cause? If you said the American Revolution to get freedom from Europe, you are correct. Besides keeping the home fires burning, many women took on other work to help the war effort. Some collected metal candlesticks, kettles, and plates. Those were melted down. Then they were made into bullets and cannonballs. Groups of women who called themselves Daughters of Liberty, we read that last week, got together to knit socks, weave cloth, or sew shirts for the soldiers. We know they did more than that. During the war, 6 women published newspapers. Mary Catherine Goddard took over the Maryland Journal and the Baltimore Advertiser from her brother in 1774. Paper was hard to find, but Goddard kept publishing for the whole war. She helped patriot readers stay up to date with facts when rumors were running wild. She was so good at her business that in 1777, she was asked to print the first copies of the Declaration of Independence with the names of all the signers. Phyllis Wheatley, brought to Boston from Senegal in West Africa on a slave ship in 1761. The family that bought her taught her to read and gave her time to write poetry. Wheatley supported the revolution. In 1775, she wrote a poem about George Washington and sent it to him. He invited her to visit his camp near Boston. Wheatley was given her freedom when her master died in 1778, but she died in poverty in 1784. Just a few days before her poem celebrating the end of the war was printed. And we have a school here in D.C. named after Phyllis Wheatley. Esther DeBert Reed was the wife of Pennsylvania's governor. She wrote The Sentiments of an American Woman. It called on women to actively support the revolution. Reed and other women formed the Philadelphia Association to raise funds for soldiers. It was unheard of for women to do public fundraising, but these women went from door to door asking for money. They collected $300,000 in paper money, $7,500 in gold from 1,645 people, from free African American women to the very rich. Reed wanted to give a small cash amount to each soldier, but Washington feared the soldiers would waste the money on drink, not on supplies. He convinced the women to use money to buy fabric and sew shirts for the soldiers. Again, we're going to ask ourselves, who is this text about and what? So this part of the text are about women. Now we are starting to see women of color, African American women, and how they aided the cause. So what is going on? One woman raised money. Another one wrote a poem to the president. Some women, Mary Goddard ran newspapers. So when I am writing my notes, when on my second read, I'm going to create a T-chart of a who and a what. And I'm going to put all of this. I'm starting to get the main idea. This is talking about women who helped or aided the cause for revolution. Native American women. Native American women often had great influence in their tribes. Mary Brant was a Mohawk, a tribe that was part of the Iroquois Confederation in western New York. At first, the Iroquois decided to stay out of the war between Britain and its colonies. But Brant was the widow of a British official. She convinced the entire Iroquois nation to side with the British. Loyalist women were not as organized as patriot women. Loyalists were sometimes harassed and driven out of patriot areas. Remember, the Loyalists were for keeping rule under England, even though they were from the colonies. One Loyalist woman did run a newspaper for a while. Her name was Margaret Draper, inherited the Boston Newsletter from her husband. She published it during 1775 and 1776, when British troops occupied Boston. Patriot newspapers often attacked her. They accused her of telling lies and betraying her country. When British troops left Boston on March 17, 1776, Draper went to Canada. Here, Loyalists are pictured drawing lots for land after arriving in Canada. Let me show you the pictures. Exit ticket. Day 1. What is the main idea? Remember, we are using race. Race is posted already. Main idea, I will post this video on Dojo and Ketchum's YouTube. What is the main idea of this text? What is mostly going about? Please use text evidence. Don't just tell me it's about women helping the cause. What is the cause? What women specifically? Text evidence. Who and what? We're going to be doing another video tomorrow. And again, it will be on Dojo, Instagram, and YouTube. See you guys.